In this episode,
she says that sometimes it's extremely difficult to read me, and understand what is Mark feeling right now, what is he thinking and stuff like that. And I can understand from her perspective it might be a little I don't know, frustrating a little bit, but
Mark,
at the same
we
time,
all know women are crazy.
well,
women want us to have emotions that we are just not equipped with.
right.
in an obtuse world, Mark and Jefe will combine military, law enforcement, and general FUD knowledge to keep you vertical. Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Larp podcast.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for swinging by to another edition of the Live, Laugh, LARP podcast. Thank you so very much for swinging by and checking things out. We're going to be diving directly into this episode because I am on location atop the Danger Mountain with a very, very special guest. I am actually really excited, and you guys will see why here in just a second. But before we get into that, let's just take a second and, as always, say a huge thank you to XS Sites. They are the sponsor of this crazy podcast. I can't believe that they've been sponsoring this podcast for nearly 2 years at this point, almost 2 years. So a huge thank you to them. If you are in need of some new iron sights for your pistols, your ARs, your AKs, your MP5s, shotguns, I don't know what else, they've probably got something for you. If you are interested in capitalizing on something like that, please use code LARP, L-A-R-P. You guys will save 20% at checkout. I get no kickback from that. That is just a huge thank you from XS Sites for you guys checking them out and listening to the podcast. So, real quick, unfortunately, Jefe is not going to be on the podcast because I am on a bit of a vacation, but I get to spend it with a good friend of mine, and it is my, again, good friend, OG from OGs Danger Show. How you doing, OG?
I am doing very well, Mark. Thanks for coming up the mountain. You know, from up here on the top of the mountain, you can look down on everyone.
I know.
That's why I like it up here.
And it is, again, it is such a beautiful area of Idaho. I'm just enamored with it. I have mentioned before that I would be willing to sell my 40 acres in Wyoming to move here if I was given the opportunity. It may happen, I don't know, but I would absolutely love to make it out here permanently, for sure. So
we have found what I think is the most beautiful town probably in the United States, situated on the edge of an alpine lake and in between two ski resorts. A nice snowy mountain town, and it's just beautiful this time of year in the summer especially.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're glad to have you. There's all kinds of things to do here, kayaking and side-by-side. We're going to do some shooting this week. So
Got some pretty nice weather. It's unseasonably cool weather for you guys, I would say, wouldn't it?
yeah, we don't get much more than 85 degrees in the top end of the summer, but we happen to be right now just coming out of a stormy period. So we're getting, our nice 70-degree days. It's about ideal outside right now.
So, real quick, before we get too far into it, tell us who you are, what do you do?
Okay, my name is OG, which stands for Officer Greg. I was given that name. I don't normally go around talking about myself and calling myself Officer Greg. I'm a retired police officer, and I was the host and shooter on a larger YouTube channel called Mouse for, 10 or 12 years. And over there, I was given the name Officer Greg by Jeff, who's the creator of the channel. So I started as Officer Greg, which got shortened by the viewers to OG, and I just kind of became OG. And now, even to my granddaughter, I am OG.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, friends and relatives alike call me OG. So I'm a retired police officer. I've been retired for about 3 years now. Moved up to Idaho shortly after retirement and established a little compound up here. And now I putz around and fix things on the property and run a YouTube channel of my own, OGs Danger Show, from right here on the top of the mountain.
And how long have you been running the show, OGs Danger Show?
I started my channel as a spinoff from Mouse, but I started my channel April 15th of 2020, right in the middle or right at the beginning of COVID. and started as a little know-nothing channel. And I was very, very, very fortunate that I was on a bigger channel, a huge channel, by the way. Tailflater Mouse has 1.5 million, or had at the time 1.5 million viewers. So every week that I was hosting that show, I was able to shout out my own channel, and my channel just grew exponentially at the beginning. I was just adding 500, 1,000 viewers a week as people got to know my channel. So I was very, very, very fortunate that I didn't have to fight my way up the subscriber ladder like all you peons.
And your channel continues to grow as well. I think the last time I looked, you're at about 150,000 subscribers.
I just passed 150,000 subscribers, yes, sir. And I send a Christmas card to every single one of them. So it gets rather expensive.
I got mine last year.
Did you?
Yes. We're kind of rehashing some of the things that we've already talked about. Naturally, when OG and I get around each other, because we've known each other for several years at this point, I think we probably could have had a 3-hour podcast episode just yesterday of all the stuff that we've been talking about.
You would lose all of your listeners. They'd back off and go listen to Joe Rogan or something. I want to say too to your listeners who don't probably know me, I began watching the Fit and Fire channel back in 2017 when you started your YouTube channel.
That's amazing.
And I was a big consumer of gun reviews on YouTube. I watched Nut and Fancy and Hickok, and anybody who would talk about a gun that I was interested in, I watched their channel. Stumbled across your channel and used to watch you standing in, I think it was your living room with a blue light behind you, talking about guns. And it was just one of the channels that I always watched. And then kind of as a weird thing that made me feel like some kind of rock star, you wrote me an email. This is about 6 or 8 months after I started my channel. You wrote me an email out of the blue saying, hey, I'd like to do a collaboration video with you. Would you be interested in coming to Kansas? So, jumped on a plane. And to me, it was like, I don't know, imagine Jimmy Page or I don't know, somebody else who's alive. Imagine them just ringing you up out of the blue and saying, hey, you want to get together? This is somebody I'd been watching for years. And all of a sudden they were reaching out to me, a tiny little channel, asking if I wanted to get together and shoot some video content. So I threw a couple of 45-70 rifles in a case and flew to Kansas, and we blew up some pork shoulders and shot some holes in your steel targets.
Yeah, we did. I told RD about that, and he was like, "You did what?" And I was like, and I showed him a picture of it, and he was like, "What did you shoot it with?" You know?
Yeah, 20 millimeter cannon. We had some. We had a viewer in Tennessee send a whole bunch of 45-70 rounds to the Tailflater Mouse channel. Jeff wasn't too interested in doing non-shotgun ammunition. We featured a round or two, but then he gave me all these rounds to use on my channel. So, of course, I brought him out there, and one of those penetrator rounds went right through your steel target.
Oh, yeah. Probably 1/4-inch angle iron. It was really interesting. You were talking about that that email that I sent you, and I will tell you that it made my week, made my year when you responded and said, "Oh yeah, I know exactly who you are. I have taken a lot of inspiration from your videos and the things that you do in Greg's videos, and I just thought that was, man, that was really, really kind of you to say."
Well, as a guy who started a YouTube channel, we can go down this rabbit hole for a minute. As a guy who started a YouTube channel, I had no idea how to position myself out there. I was not a tactically cool guy with a beard and a lot of tattoos. I wasn't some ex-special forces guy. I was a middle of my career law enforcement officer who had a little bit of insight from all of I got a lot of training on the job, and I put myself through a lot of training off the job with my own money and vacation time. And I kind of wanted to start my own channel and share some of that knowledge and experience. Plus I was just a gun nut. And I thought, it'd be cool. I could talk about guns all day long. Might as well have somebody else watch. So I didn't know where to position myself though. So I'd been watching YouTube videos for years, and I sort of patterned my channel off of what I found was the best of all the channels that I watched. I loved Hickok 45, shooting targets out across a gully, and the way you presented guns up close and personal and close views of, detailed video of a gun. So I sort of took a little bit from everybody and put together videos that kind of in the fashion of videos that I like to watch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've got my own unique style now, but really it's just a big old patchwork of all you guys who came before me. So
And it's funny because it comes full circle. Now I'm like watching your videos. I watch your videos religiously, and I'm still now trying to glean some different ideas or camera angles or editing techniques or whatever the case may be from your videos. So I think it's pretty cool how kind of
mine's all trial and error.
yeah.
I screw up and go, you know what? That accident actually looked pretty cool on camera. I dropped a camera once. I dropped a camera that was hooked to my gun one time. It fell to the ground, but in doing so, it made this twirling video as it hit the ground. And I included that video for some damn reason. And one of my viewers said, that was so badass. It was the perspective of a falling magazine coming out of the gun. He thought it was the magazine falling out of the base of the gun on purpose during a reload.
Yep.
And I thought, son of a bitch, that actually worked. So accidents happen.
Yeah.
We go with it, and then next thing you know, I'm deliberately doing those accidents to make better or make different kind of filming techniques. So we learn things and we share them back and forth with each other. And I recently bought a pair of meta glasses because I like the way that you and other channels filmed first-person shooter.
Yeah.
I like that behind-the-gun look. So yeah, I bought a pair of those so that I could get that same look. So yeah, we all bounce ideas back and forth with each other, and we share a lot of information too. Mark's been super helpful with giving me information about YouTube, kind of behind the scenes, behind the curtain, how to grow the channel, how to deal with monetization, and being shut down and have your videos deleted and all that kind of thing. So.
And it's it's the adage, all ships rise on high tides. So the information that I get is not trade secrets or anything, and I want to see all of my friends do well and do better. And Clay from Clayco47's channel, he called me last week and he was giving me some insight and stuff like that. And it's actually a great segue into talking about where do you see GunTube going right now? We see all this content. I talked about it in my last podcast. See all this content about GunTube is dying and it's going away, and this and that and the other, and just kind of some, I don't know, negative viewpoints as to what YouTube is looking like for individuals interested in gun content. Where do you feel that that's going?
Well, I don't think it's dying. It's definitely changing. There was a time when YouTube was new and all of us were watching gun reviews, even though they were piss poor reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing fancy, working under a single light bulb on a pool table. They were piss poor as far as video quality, but they were educational for those of us who wanted. It was like watching a TV show about the topic that we were most interested in. I don't think YouTube is dying. We've all watched our viewership, or let's say the views on a certain video. We've all watched those taper off. Sometimes they'll ebb and flow. We'll hit a certain topic and it'll skyrocket back up. So I don't think it's dying, but it's certainly changing. People are a little more satisfied already with the firearms that they own, so they might not want to watch a gun review on a tabletop. They want to see more shooting, or they want to see more about the techniques and the tactics. They want to hear about the drama behind the factory, or how the gun was invented, or the flaws in the firearm, like the old SIG 320s.
Yep.
So
gun drama right now is like one of the best producing content that's out there, and I'm around enough drama in my normal life as it is that I just assume not be a part of that. I have nothing against channels like Focus Trip. He's found a segment to do his thing, but me and some of my friends have already said that if we end up on Focus Trip's channel, something's really wrong.
Yeah, you've made it. You've actually made it. I agree, and I would like to expand on that. Not only do I not want to get into gun drama, but long ago, well, any of us, we have the opportunity to go and actually make a clown show out there and become a big channel, because a lot of the viewers on YouTube are 15, 18-year-old kids who just want to see a goofball blow up something in a microwave, right?
Yeah.
Demolition Ranch got huge by kind of by having a clown show. And yeah, he did gun reviews and stuff, but it was mostly go out and blow something up or act like a goofball and make people laugh. We all know a certain YouTuber who puts on blonde wigs and gets chased around an empty lot by an inflatable dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could all act silly. I like to inject a lot of humor. I'm just, I like to make people laugh in my everyday life. So I like to inject a lot of humor in my gun reviews and in my speaking on camera. But I don't want to chase that rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get more viewers or trying to get more views and thumbs ups, I'm not interested in that. I long ago gave up caring a whole lot about whether people liked my videos or not, or whether this video was going to make me a ton of money or help my channel grow. I started making videos. I don't remember who told me to do it either, but I started making videos that I liked to make,
Mm-hmm.
that I was interested in. Whether people like them or not, I don't really care. YouTube is not my sole livelihood. I'm well taken care of by the state of California in retirement, so I get to do it as a hobby, which means I get to make exactly what I want.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing too, is and somewhat of a perspective I take on my channel is trying to produce a video that I would like to watch.
Exactly.
If I would watch it, then I know that it's done pretty good. And then working with my daughter, Little Fit, she helped me with my video last week as we are recording this.
Which was an outstanding production, by the way. You both did an amazing job.
Yep. Just doing the Larp of the ambush scene in Sicario, I thought was something that would be fun to do. And I'm now at a point where I'm going to have to start wearing glasses. So I was able to find the exact same frames. The actor that I was portraying is one of my favorite actors anyway.
And as a commitment to your craft, you cut your mustache or
Oh,
cut your facial hair down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Exact. That's a man who's committed.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, I got a ripping for that. There was a couple ladies in my life that were not very happy about that, So,
Well, you know what?
but it's growing back.
You're
So.
committed to your productions.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about shaving my head next week because I want to do a Mr. Clean video. Some old Kojak reruns.
So I also have to say a huge thank you to you as well, because this is a really fun story. We've probably told this story already 3 times today, but last time I was here, we stopped at the local gun shop here in town. What's the name of it?
McCall Guns and Archery in McCall, Idaho.
Yep. So great little shop. During deer season, I like to bow hunt mainly, and if I need to fill some tags when rifle season comes around, then I do rifle. But so to come in and see all the new bows, that was really cool. And then they have a nice little nook that has some really interesting firearms and stuff like that. So last year was really cool. This year I was like, hey, Greg, before we go downtown to go shopping or whatever with all the ladies, why don't, can we stop in at the shop? And you're like, absolutely.
Oh, it's a gun store? Wait a second, it's a gun store? I haven't been there in 24 hours, Mark. I'll go back gladly and spend another hour in there.
So we go in there and we start snooping around. We ended up in the back corner, in the dingy back corner of this place, there was a Colt Sporter AR-15, which is a post ban. So after the 1994 assault weapons ban, because there was no bayonet lug, it could still have been early 2000s possibly.
Well, the ban expired in what, 2004?
Yeah. So it could have been after 2004, and they were just flushing out their old stock, possibly. Who knows? But they had a deal, 20-inch Colt Sporter.
In pristine condition.
Oh yeah, never fired.
It looked like a retro rifle, but we broke it open, took a look at the bolt and the, what do you call it?
The brass deflector.
Brass deflector.
Yeah.
And there was not a single mark on this gun.
Nope.
It was as if it came out of the box, and yet it looked like it was 20 years old.
Yep.
So that's a rare find.
The deal with it was it came with 2 other upper receivers. One was chambered in 7.62x39. The other one was a 20-inch A1 carry handle upper with a 3-power Colt retro optic attached to the carry handle. And I was telling Greg, I was like, man, Greg, this is a good deal. You should buy it. You should buy it. You should really, you know, I love carry handles, and you know, if I could buy this, I would buy it right now. And we went back.
Greg has too many damn AR-15s as it is, and too many uppers and lowers sitting in a box near us. So yeah, it wasn't for me, even though Mark filled me in. And I mean, this thing was a rare find. It was in pristine condition. I think it was also unfired, was it not?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I made the comment. I was like, man, I wonder if I could just buy this upper. And Greg encouraged me, gave me a little bit of nudging to go talk to the lady that owns the store. So I was like, all right. And I walked over there and I was like, hey, got a question for you. And she's like, yeah, shoot. And I was like, you got this Colt Sporter over there with 2 uppers. This is one of them. Would you be willing just to sell this upper? And she was like, yeah, I think I could do that.
And let me interject and say that the owner of the store comes from the competitive shotgun world. A lot of trap and skeet and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And does not know that much about firearms in general. So she doesn't really know what she has. It's like stumbling across something, an old, Beatles record or something with autographs on it at a yard sale.
Yeah.
They don't know what they have, and she didn't know what she had. So
yeah, and naturally, I'm a good old Midwest boy. You know, I try to say yes sir, no ma'am, and I don't like to haggle because I feel as if I'm going to say something that is going to offend somebody. And so I said, well, after she said, yeah, I'd sell just this upper. I said, well, what would you want for it? And she said, well, what are you thinking? And I was like, oh man, you would have to say that. I really hate this. And I was like, I don't want to insult you or anything. And she was like, no, you're not going to insult me. I've got my number in my head. You tell me what's kicking around in your head. And I was like, $600? And she goes, how about 500?
And I was across the store looking at some optics. I almost hit my head on the shelf thinking, did she just negotiate the opposite direction?
It's like, this is not how this works. So I was like, I didn't even hesitate. I was like, absolutely. I couldn't get my credit card out of my wallet fast enough. So I've got this pristine, unfired Colt A1 upper with a Colt optic on it. I mean, straight up retro. I absolutely think, I'll talk to Clay, but I honestly think that this is going to be the rifle that I shoot for the sniper competition at Lethal Weapons. I've got all of these different options that I have. I've got an M14, I've got an M1 Grand, I've got a Yugoslavian Mauser that I could shoot. I've got a Mosin M44 that I could shoot. I've got all these different options, and this one is just like, you need to take this one. I mean, it is really, really super cool, in pristine condition.
It is a pretty cool find, actually. I'm glad you found it. I probably wouldn't have known that much about it sitting there. You know more about the history of these things coming from military background. But I stopped by the other day, a couple days ago, and looked at that rifle package, the Sporter and its 2 uppers. And I thought, boy, I could walk out of here with that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I punched myself right in the throat because, again, we're sitting in a room right now full of AR-15s. I've got more than I'll ever need. I actually, as we're sitting here, we're actually talking over a parts kit that I just need to put together for yet another damn AR-15 that I really don't need and don't want. I do actually give these away from time to time, give them to family members and friends. So last thing I needed was another AR-15 with 2 additional workers.
Well, I'll tell you, we're sitting here looking at this lower receiver that you've got in pieces that you're getting ready to put together. One thing, I can look at your parts kit and I can tell you right here and now, you're missing a really integral part to it.
Is that the flux capacitor?
No.
I got one of those extra.
No, you're missing the Atrius FRT.
Oh, holy dog shit.
The forced, what is they call the FRS, the force reset safety.
Yes, like the super safety and all those.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I might be the only guy who runs a YouTube channel and has some very mediocre, very small Instagram content, but I might be the only guy who is not interested in getting an FRT. They look really damn cool on camera. It would probably be interesting to have something that I could say was full auto, using my finger quotes. But first of all, I can't afford that kind of ammo. I'd burn up a whole can of ammo just going out to the range and turn on the camera. But also, I've had a lot of classes with full auto weapons, and I have some experience shooting them, not only burst weapons, but also full auto. And I've been trained and always found that I can't hit shit with them anyway. They're fun. They make a lot of noise and they keep the enemy's heads down, but they're not very good for hitting your bad guy.
You had some special assignments while you were on the police force. Was it like
super inspector? I
was it the FBI, federal booby inspector?
Boobs inspector, yeah, female body inspector. I think was the old hat in the 80s.
Yeah.
That was my role. That's the training I went through.
But weren't you on some special response squads or SRT or?
Yeah, we had one called SRT, a special. They called it a paper squad originally, and it began as a bunch of volunteers. Later, our agency decided to actually make that official, because we were the state police. California Highway Patrol in California is the state police. And as the state police agency, we were tasked with going up and down the state during different hotspots, whether it be riots, BLM protests at the state capitol, a bunch of hippie kids at a Cal State University who were blocking a road protesting for workers' rights or some horse shit. And we were the state police, so they wanted an official squad that was properly trained and uniformed and equipped to respond to these different things. California, as you know, burns to the ground every summer.
Yep.
And every time there was a giant fire that would threaten a community, they would close down that community usually to keep junkies and tweakers from coming in and stealing everything from evacuated homes. So we were responsible for coming in and buttoning down those neighborhoods and keeping property safe and keeping junkies out. Making sure people got out of the town safely when they needed to be evacuated. So I was on the SRT team. I was a grenadier, so I was Squad 6 grenadier. So I had a 40 millimeter gun. We shot big giant rubber batons and air burst grenades and gas grenades at hippies, and we got paid for it. I mean, holy God, I would have turned around and paid them for it. But yeah, I got to shoot rubber baton grenades at a bunch of protesters, and it did not suck.
That's awesome.
We got deployed all over the state. We got specialized training and equipment, got all kinds of cool gear. Some of it may or may not have followed me here to Idaho.
What were some of the special weapons that you were able to train on or be familiarized with, I guess? Or what was your favorite, I suppose?
Well, let's start with the duty pistol. Everybody carried, of course, the Smith & Wesson. It was the Generation 1 Smith & Wesson M&P 40 caliber. Our department was dead set on having 40 calibers forever. We were also issued, I believe most of them were Bushmaster. They started out being Bushmaster dissipators. We ended up moving every single patrol car in the state to SIG M400s. So we had an AR-15 with us. A Grenadier team was authorized to carry one into these protests. So if somebody started popping off rounds from the top of a building, we were the squad that was authorized to return fire. And that also doesn't suck. But we were issued and I don't remember the manufacturer, we were given each squad member was given a 40 millimeter gun, breach action, break open gun. And you put these big giant aluminum rounds in there from Dynamic Defense or some company, I can't remember.
Was it like the old like Vietnam thump guns style?
Very similar, but these were modernized. They had an A2 grip on them. They had a collapsible stock. Looked a lot like an AR-15 lower. Mm-hmm. They had a big breach, whatever you call it, breach action, where we broke them open and dropped rounds into them. They were topped with a aim point. I think it was the Patrol Rifle Optic, PRO, something like that.
Yep.
And they were rather accurate. These things all came about because we used to be issued, we had some old-timey 37 millimeter guns that used to deploy gas. And we were stuck with using a Remington 870 that was, orange furniture. And it was for beanbag rounds. We had some other different versions of beanbag rounds, but that was all we were able to use. There happened to be a certain protest where a certain member of my squad, not me, fired one of these things and zapped one of the protesters in the face. And that was a no-hit zone, obviously. And there was such a big uproar about this coming from the protesters.
Yeah.
Our agency decided, we need something a little more accurate than a Remington 870 with a bead sight. So they got us these $1,500 40 millimeter guns. They put another $500 aim point optic on top so we could pick and choose who we zapped from then on out. So it was a fun little squad to be on. We got deployed all over the state for different hotspots and different protests. And, we camped out in the Capitol one week when the BLM rioters were threatening to take over the Capitol. We were camped out in the marble hallways of the California State Capitol, eating snacks all day long and looking at our phones. I was also on a weapons transition team when every time our agency switched firearms for the duty guys on the road for the road patrol, we were required to train up every single member in the state on that firearm. They had to qualify with them before they were allowed to carry them. And my team went up and down the state, trained other members of our agency on that firearm and made sure that they were able to qualify at the end of that training. So I was on that weapons transition team. I was also fortunate enough to be brought into an active shooter response team back in 2013. There seemed to be a lot of active shooters all of a sudden popping up. In our agency, being the state police, we were tasked with coming up with standardized training. And so we reached out, of course, to Department of Homeland Security. They sent a team in. They trained a bunch of us in active shooter response. And then it was our job to travel up and down the state and train our officers as well as allied agencies so that we had a unified response. If I got a call that there was an active shooter at a local high school, the next closest guy might be a city police officer and a county sheriff. And they wanted to make sure all of our training was exactly the same. So we weren't just a bunch of bumbling idiots.
Yeah.
So we ended up being well-trained bumbling idiots, but we were able to go in there and neutralize the threat. And we put that to the test one day down in Bakersfield. It worked out really great.
So with you being on the SRT squad, would you just be like rolling around on a normal day doing your normal thing? And if you got called up for the SRT team for a special response, you just had to break away from what you were doing and go do that? Okay.
That's correct. Unlike LAPD SWAT or something that their exclusive job is SWAT, our agency can't afford personnel like that. So we were in tan uniforms, driving around the roads looking for speeders and drunk drivers and investigating crashes. If something happened, we were all given the text message to head back to the office, grab up our gear, meet in my case, it was in Fresno. We all jumped in different patrol cars and trucks, and we were drove ourselves to the whatever hotspot required our presence.
Yep.
And we set up camps and command centers there and started feeding guys. We stayed in hotels. We stayed in church lobbies before we slept overnight in lobbies. We slept in our patrol cars a lot. One time we were put up in the dorms of a closed down Christian college. So it was very much just thrown together, kind of ad hoc, send a bunch of guys to where there's a problem and put so many uniforms out there that problem doesn't get worse.
Well, right on. That's a pretty storied career. And it was 20 years, is that right?
I was in for 23 and a half. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and I left in, what year was that? What year are we even in now?
26.
I retired in April of 23. And by the following June, a little over a year later, I had moved up here to Idaho, and now I live the good life, making YouTube videos and running around chasing a couple of dogs.
And these dogs are hilarious. The Bernese mountain dogs, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. One of which is asleep right outside the studio right now, laying on his back with his nose completely up in the air, oblivious to the fact that we're in here. A hell of a guard dog, these things.
Yeah. So you've got your SIG, your brand new, unfired to you. It may have been shot before you, but SIG P365 Fusion what's your opinion on SIG? I mean, I know you've got a SIG M400. SIG's been kind of, people have been kind of whatever about, they're dunking on them because of the P320 and the issues the supposed issues.
Mark, I'm old enough to remember when I was coming up in the gun world and buying guns, SIG was only from Germany, Switzerland and Germany. They weren't, there wasn't even a SIG USA or SIG Arms in Exeter, New Hampshire. My first real firearm was a SIG 228 in 9mm. It was the M11 for the Army, and I loved that gun. Man, it was just an awesome gun, and I never had anything so well built. I also never had anything so expensive at the time, but somehow I managed to scrape together the money to buy that pistol.
Let me tell you, there is one at the local shop in the next town over from me back home, and I think it's like $950 or $1,000 for it. And I'm like, oh man, I really want that. And I don't know why I want it, because it's a shorter barrel than I like on a pistol, but it's a threaded barrel, and I just absolutely love that pistol. But
beautiful guns. You cannot find a machine mark on that thing. You can't find a scratch, a dent. I mean, they're German manufacturing. Mine was a West German marked model, and I love that thing, and stamped with West Germany on the side of it. Like an idiot, I sold it down the road because along in my career, working for an agency that shot 40 caliber, I switched almost all of my guns over to 40 caliber. Of course, I've now switched back, which has been a costly endeavor. But
you're still a big fan of 40.
I do actually. I wouldn't say I carry 40 hardly ever, but I do believe in the power of the 40 caliber cartridge. It just doesn't give anything that, a good 9mm loaded with the right rounds, or even 45. I do carry 45 a lot with me. And then being up here in the mountains, I also switched to 10mm a lot during the winter because I like the bigger guns, and I certainly like that 10mm power. But yeah, I was a big 40 caliber fan. But getting back to the SIG thing, I own that SIG M11. I later went and bought myself a SIG 226 in 40 caliber. So I really like SIGs. I just don't own very many of them. Right. I don't know why. I never went down the path of the 320s and got on that bandwagon. I did buy, for about a week, I owned a M17. I liked it. I shot it well, but it wasn't filling any niche that I really needed. So I actually sold it back to the dealer, who was happy to take it back. In California, when a police officer buys a gun, he can then sell it to anybody. It doesn't have to be on the roster. And so there were a lot of people clamoring for guns that police officers used to own. And I owned this thing for about a week and shot 3 or 4 magazines out of it. So it was a hot commodity. I'm a big SIG fan. And a few years ago, I bought 2 SIG 365s, the original, tiny little Generation 1 365s. I love it. I carry it as a hot weather gun. And my buddy, who was just here on Danger Mountain, has the 365 fuse. And man, when I got my hands on that gun, I'm like, holy crap, this thing is just beautiful. It fits my hand. It feels nice. It's narrow. I didn't shoot his. And like an idiot, I went out and bought one of my own, having not shot one. And yet I still haven't shot this one. But it is a beautiful gun. I love SIGs. Probably wouldn't own a 320 at this point, but anything in the 365 line to me is a engineering marvel. And I'm looking forward to taking this thing out. Maybe we can get out tomorrow and shoot some of these firearms that are in this room.
Yeah, I know that my buddy, he's got the comp version. I showed that picture to you, and I've really enjoyed shooting it. It's been a lot of fun. But I'll be interested to see what you have to say about that tomorrow when we get an opportunity to shoot it. Hopefully we'll be able to get that red dot in.
Oh, yeah, that would actually, it's supposed to come in tomorrow, too. I'm a big, as I mentioned a couple of times in this podcast, I'm an older guy now, and I am a big believer in red dots. I have red dots on about 95% of the pistols on my wall, and I got a lot of pistols over here, but I've converted them all to red dots because I'm just far faster and more accurate with red dots. So this SIG fuse, the minute I bought it, I bought a SIG Romeo to slap on top of it.
Yep.
And as soon as it comes in the mail from Optics Planet, I'm going to throw it on top of this gun, and that's where it will live.
It's interesting, too, because we talked about this last night. Ken Hackathorn is back on his bandwagon about red dots, and within 7 yards, you can't shoot a pistol faster with a red dot versus iron sights, and Last year or so, he made a comment about not being able to qualify the Air Marshal's qual with a pistol and a red dot. And I don't understand why he continues to die on that hill, because I can tell you that I shot pistols with iron sights for many years and then transitioned to a red dot. And I will freely admit that that transition was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to get to a point where I could just draw, find that dot, and pull the trigger in a very quick succession. There are some pistols, sometimes I'm fishing for that dot, so I understand his perspective that every time you see someone pull up their pistol, they're always fishing for that dot. But that's a training issue. That's not a technology issue. And I can tell you, for a fact, I am far more accurate with a pistol that has a red dot versus iron sights.
Yes, and I will add to that. Not only am I far more accurate, to me it's almost, well, I won't say it's rifle-like accuracy, but it's the closest thing I've got in a holster on my hip to a rifle now, but faster and far more accurate. I've been to a lot of training courses. I had that same rough transition that you were talking about where I wasn't too confident with a red dot, but I made myself stick with them, and now I can pick it up fast, train with them. I recently came from a Chris Costa training course where we taped up the red dots, practiced shooting with them turned off, looking through the glass window, and then taped them all up, completely up, and looked down the pistol through the mass of duct tape, and put rounds on our target at 25 yards. You can zap a fool at 25 yards without sights, folks. Just need a little bit of training and trigger control, and you can do it. So I don't get too wrapped around the axle. I believe Ken Hackathorn. I respected the guy, still respect the guy. Thought he had a lot of great things over the years. I think he kind of made a clown out of himself on this one, and boy.
Well, it's interesting because I caught a reel on Instagram about a guy talking about how if Bruce Lee was transplanted from the 1970s to 2020, 2026, and was dropped into a UFC match, they would mop the floor with him, and so people have this concept, this idea in their mind of what Bruce Lee is, and this guy is basically saying that it's a fallacy. He was never that good to begin with, because if you were to put him into a fight today, the fighters in UFC would mop the floor with him. And someone came back around and was like, well, that is, he said, I agree with him, but I disagree with him. If Bruce Lee was dropped into today's martial arts, MMA stuff, yes, he would get his butt kicked. But had he not been around in the 1970s, UFC may never have come around. Exactly. Mixed martial arts may never have come around, because he was the guy who, paved that path for all of these other people. And
there's an evolution to these things.
Exactly.
There has to be guys who start at the beginning. It's kind of like we were talking about with YouTube. There has to be guys who start at the beginning and make the rest of us better, or we fashion ourselves and better the art, whether it's martial arts, making YouTube videos, shooting, whatever. There were people who came before us who, it's called presentism. If you brought them in today's world, they wouldn't be able to compete. But it's not today's world,
right?
Or it wasn't. So yeah, we're mixing two things here that shouldn't be mixed. Unfortunately, we took an old guy who believes in iron-sighted steel 1911 pistols in 45 caliber, and we're introducing something like a red dot. And I agree. For the longest time, I was anti-red dot. I thought it was a gimmick. It's going to die. It's going to go away. Gabe Suarez was one of the earliest proponents of red dots on all guns. I thought he was a clown. I'm like, these things, anything with a battery is going to die. It's going to die at the worst time when you need it the most. And then we started seeing sights that come out that they have 5-year battery life. They don't die, at least if you're diligent in changing your battery. If they do die, I have learned in a lot of training that you can still frame a guy in that little optic and zap him almost every time. So I stopped worrying about that stuff quite so much. And, instead of worrying about all that shit, I just got to where I trained myself and went to a lot of training on how to operate that red dot and how to get my shots on target.
Absolutely. Yep. And I've gotten to a point, as mentioned, that I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a grandmaster USPSA competition shooter. I know that I follow people like Firepower Unlimited on Instagram, and Calvin is a phenomenal shooter. I get to shoot with people in AK competitions like Clayco 47 and stuff like that, and yeah, I know that I will never be, or not to say never, but it's going to take an awful lot of work for me to be at their level. Another great guy, Jose. I get to shoot with him at Kalash Bash and just kind of watch him shoot and watch him stage plan and stuff like that in competition. And all of these guys are shooting lights out with red dots, regardless if it's a rifle or a pistol. And you can still see, like Clay, he'll go out and shoot an AK match with iron sights, and he beats a lot of people with red dots. So yes, you can still do it, but more times than not, you're going to be a hell of a lot better, And
we were talking about yesterday, as your eyes get older, it doesn't matter if you're better with iron sights or not. I, for one, have lost the ability to focus on that front sight. Remember how we always trained to focus on your front sight and focus on it so sharp that you could pick up a little tiny speck of dust. You used to be able to do that. Well, my rear sights are blurred out now, my bad guy's blurred out now, and my front sight is about 50% blurry.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way to get that thing in sharp focus.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that a red dot is perfectly clear. I have astigmatism and that it flares out too, but man, I can make shots that I could never pull off with iron sights. I can do that now at my age with my eyes with a standard handgun.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is you're using the fundamentals of shooting. You're using your trigger control and your stance and your breathing and all that crap. But the sighting system, to me, got way easier. I've got one plane now to look at instead of trying to line up front sight into my rear sights, get equal height, equal light, all that stuff. So to me, it was a game changer. And I don't use that word lightly because I think it's overused. But my journey down the red dot path started with a friend of mine came out. I was a range master for the Highway Patrol. He came out to the range one day and he wanted me to install a red dot on a pistol that he was giving his son. And I kept my opinions to myself. Dude, this is a clown gimmick, whatever. But if you're giving it to your kid, whatever. I installed it on his gun, and we had some steel targets up. And just for shits and giggles, I took his pistol and found that red dot. It took me a minute. And I was able to zap these things at 50 yards. And these are 8.5 by 11 steel targets with a human face. And I was pinging these things at 50 yards with like zero effort. I thought, holy shit. It's the dawning of a new day.
Yep.
Angels wept, and the cone of light came down from the sky right then. And I was a red dot fanatic. So,
well, the interesting thing for me was my first interaction with a red dot was actually on a rifle in 2003 with the Aimpoint M68 CCO. I was deployed to Iraq at the time in Baghdad, and my tank company was cross-attached to 1st of the 325 Infantry out of the 82nd Airborne. They ended up with a whole bunch of these aim points, and they gave our company one for every rifle. There's 2 M4s per tank. So, you're talking, 30 or so of these M68s. And so they handed them out to all the companies. My platoon sergeant was like, all right, Grim, here you go. Figure it out. Teach us how we're supposed to do this. And so I had to sit down and read the entire manual. And then the infantry guys had a TACSOP or a tactical SOP that described how to zero a red dot and so on and so forth. And man, once we got that put together and I understood how it was supposed to be zeroed and what distances it was supposed to be zeroed, it was a lot of fun. It made things so much easier. And then fast forward a few years, it would have been 2000, 2009. At that point, I had been commissioned to an officer. I was going through my officer basic course and went out to the rifle qual with my M4 and M68 and qualified expert, 40 out of 40. First time I've ever done that.
Crazy.
Normally I was shooting with just a standard M16A2, call it 33, 34, mid to upper sharpshooter range was typically where I was always at. Never qualified expert, or I should say not never, rarely qualified expert. But
so you're saying you cheated is what you're trying to
yeah,
tell
exactly.
us.
That's what it boils down to. But
It is a cheater's device, but
yeah,
I think in battle we should always cheat. I've got a sticker on the back of my side-by-side from Thunder Ranch that says always cheat, always win. So
yeah.
There you go. Do what you got to do to beat those violent criminal actor fuckers out there.
Well, in John Correa from Active Self-Protection last year at SHOT Show put out a YouTube short or a reel kind of rebutting Ken Ackathorm. And I'm not trying to dog on Ken or make this podcast all about him, but something that John Correa said is, I'm not sight Amish, or he says, I'm not gun Amish, meaning if there's technology that's going to make me better, then I'm going to use that technology. So.
And be leery. It's a battery operated device. It's made of glass, and should it be on our combat rifles and on our combat pistols for defending ourselves and our family, the jury's still out. But we've had enough years under our belt now to know that these things are not just going to break in your holster.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big fear out there. Well, what if it gets blocked up with mud and snow? Well, I live in snow country here, and I've never had one where the glass has been occluded by snow or mud yet. It could happen, I guess. But again, I've trained for and been able to pull off shots with that whole thing blocked up. So it's an electronic device. It's no longer a gimmick, I don't believe. Be diligent about your batteries. Be diligent about your training. That's one thing. Don't just throw it on your gun and go out the very next day and think you're going to zap all these Hajis out there, because it does take a minute to find that damn red dot, especially those of us who were brought up on steel sights.
Well, to kind of change course slightly a little bit, while you were Poncho driving around.
I was John.
Were you John?
I had the little dolphin shorts, and we went roller skating a lot.
Let me ask you this: did you guys nickname anybody Poncho?
He was Ponch. What is his name? I can't remember his first name. Poncherello.
Yeah, Poncherello. Yeah.
Ponch and John. Nobody was Ponch. We actually, believe it or not, the real life Ponch used to show up to our association meetings, the union meetings, and sign autographs. And that's a guy who is living off of 40-year-old fame. That's the only thing he had to reach out for. Sad kind of existence. But I don't think anybody was Ponch. We had nicknames for everybody, just like the military.
Yeah.
Everybody fucked up on the job, and you usually got a name based on that. So
speaking of that, with your duty weapon, you said you were running the M&P Gen 1 40 cals.
42. Yeah. That's towards the end of my career,
right?
And when I retired, that was my gun.
Those were iron sights, or did they?
Yeah, oddly enough. So the Highway Patrol, in its knowledge, every time we got a new firearm, we were not allowed to put a light on it. We were not allowed to put lasers on it. They were so paranoid about ruining that factory warranty that they wouldn't let us do anything to those guns. When we got the M&P 40s, first of all, it came with a rail on it, obviously, but it was the first time our guns had ever come with night sights in our department, because they came from the Smith factory, allowed us to keep night sights on there. We had a time where we were not allowed to, even though the thing had a rail on it, we were not allowed to put lights on there. It doesn't matter if you're working your entire shift on graveyards, you could not alter your weapon by putting a light on there per our department policy. Now, guys did it all the time. They also put red dots and lights on their rifles and their patrol cars, but you had to take that shit off at the end of every shift and take it with you. First of all, so it didn't disappear. Cops are thieves. But the department finally saw the light and had enough people complaining, and they put out an approved list of 7 different white lights, weapon lights that we could mount onto our firearms. Still no lasers are allowed. I hear, this is the newest information, I hear that the Highway Patrol is now going to go to a Gen 2. Dear God,
Ooh.
10 years later, they're going to finally do a Gen 2 M&P in 9mm this time. They've also seen the light and realized that 40 caliber is overpowered, kicks a lot, it's expensive, and there's not really any use for it. Used to be, we worked in and around cars and auto glass, and the big belief was that we needed something that was barrier blind that could punch through cars and zap bad guys inside. I think now they've realized that 9mm will do that. So they've gone to a 9mm, this is what I hear at least, and that they're also optics ready, and they're equipping them with optics to give to their guys. So only 10, 15 years later is our department finally catching up. Pretty soon they'll give us patrol cars that take gasoline and don't need to be hand cranked from the front.
Well, in your storied career, was there instances where there? I don't know what the tactful way to ask this question, but did you see some shit while you're on duty? And it's a cliche question, but
I saw some shit. It's not as glamorous a career as one thinks. Law enforcement is 90% paperwork. All those cops listening know that there's little blasts of action, and it's 90% paperwork and waiting around. And for every cool police chase, cool arrest, fight, in an alley, beating up a guy, or, whatever you do, even a DUI arrest, everything was just 50 pages of paperwork after that. So it's a nightmare, but I didn't see anything. I did a lot of cool things. I had a lot of cool calls that were, hairy at times. Looking back on them, look, at the time they were fun as hell. I was a lot younger then. I wanted action and jumping over fences and chasing bad guys with a rifle. Now I look at it and think, wow, I was young, dumb, and probably put myself in some dangerous places at times. But not a lot of really. There was very, very, very few times where I felt undertrained or undergunned. I would stop carloads of gangbangers, and I always felt like as I approached that car with my hand on my 40 caliber pistol, it's the old Marine Corps adage of be polite and prepared and have a plan to kill everybody inside.
Right.
And that really was the plan. And it sounds horrible. It's not very politically correct, but as you're walking up on a car full of gangbangers, you got to have a plan for zapping every one of them if some shit goes down.
Yep.
So you just made that plan. You trained for it. You prepared for it. You never, ever, ever took things for granted and just went moseying up on a car with your finger in your nose. I also believed, most of my guys believed in treating everyone with respect. So I can't tell you the number of cars full of gangbangers I walked up on. And by speaking with the driver and treating everybody with respect, and everybody treated me with respect for the most part during my career, and we all went away without exchanging gunfire. So it really goes two ways. I worked with a lot of county sheriffs who would jack people up, and they'd have people ready, spitting mad, ready to fight, handcuffed in their car, and I'd get there and they'd talk with us because we talked to them like they were humans. And I'm not saying that, we were perfect and all that, but, we punched a lot of people, wrestled with a lot of people in alleys, and had a lot of foot pursuits, car pursuits. But for the most part, if you treat people well, especially if they're dirtbags and they're expected to be treated like shit, they're expecting to be treated like shit. Mm-hmm. When you treat them with a little respect, they respond accordingly. And it's a little laboratory of psychology that really is fun to watch out there on the road.
Yeah, and since I've been here with you, we've talked about.
I've not treated you with respect.
Yeah, no, but we've talked about some individuals that that's going through some things, some personal things, and one of the things that you were talking with them today about when we stopped in and just checked in on them, see how they were doing. You made a comment that I thought was very interesting, that you've dealt with so many people in your life that you can see right through people's bullshit.
Well, and I don't think I'm unique. I don't want to put myself up on a soapbox and say that I have specialized training or anything, but after a career in law enforcement, again, if you've got cops or anybody who's been in that line of work, you get a bullshit detector early on.
Yeah.
And you learn very quickly when people are lying to you, when they're shading the truth. You just learn to read people really quickly, better than most professions out there. So picking up on a liar, this family situation that I was, not my family, but a family situation that I was helping out with, one of the parties in this little domestic violence thing was absolutely a lying sack of shit. And it was so easy to see from the outside. The wife is convinced that, or, there was a time when the wife believed that the errant husband might actually not have done anything wrong. Maybe he is a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's just easy for us to see. My wife is a retired judge now, and as a judge, same thing. You just get people's bullshit all day long, and you get a radar for it, and pretty soon, actually, it's also what makes us surly and cynical about everything. Now we don't trust anybody, and I think everybody's lying to me until they prove that they're not. So it makes us grumpy old bastards at the same time. But,
yeah.
But yeah, it's a unique trait that you learn in law enforcement or those kind of careers that where you deal with people every day, and a lot of times, well, the nature of the job, whether you're just pulling somebody over for speeding, it's kind of like their job, their role in this little play is to lie to you, and your job is to catch them and show them some very brief evidence as to why it is they're in trouble, and then you proceed with the enforcement activity that you needed to go about. But it's kind of like their job to say, it wasn't me. I have a license. I just left it at home in my other pants.
Yeah.
I'm between licenses right now. It was a joke we always used to. I'm on my way to the DMV right now, officer. I can't even believe you got me because I'm 5 minutes away from the DMV. And I'd look at my watch and I'd be like, on a Sunday, huh? 2 in the morning. All right. I'll call down there and make sure you go get your license.
Well, one of the things that we've got going on right now is we are recording this in Greg's studio. Is it the best way to describe it? Man cave, whatever?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the best of all worlds. It's my art studio. It's a gun room. It's where my YouTube editing happens. It is my man cave. It's a dog hangout.
Yeah. And it's really cool because you've got all of your firearms kind of just very interestingly hung.
Yeah, I'll show all your listeners here.
Yeah, exactly.
Put my speaker up to
Yeah.
them so they can see.
So we got this one over here. Yeah. Everybody should be able to see the Mini 14.
Oh, yeah, check out that. Yeah.
So, what has been you've got actually a few interesting ones. Obviously, you've got is that a fight light up there?
Fight Light SCR.
Yeah.
That was actually a very popular video I made. I bought that gun. So obviously, I used to live in California. And even though I was exempt from a lot of California laws, and I know people hate that cops are somehow exempt, but hey, I lived it and I benefited from it. So I used it when I could. I could own an AR-15 with a pistol grip at home. Ours still had to be kind of modified to be California legal, but I got into the sort of collecting California legal rifles. And my sort of the job on YouTube was to find options out there for California residents that were as good as having a little AR-15, something that would defend your family just as well, just as fast, shoot the same ammunition. It was just as maneuverable and deadly. And one of the early things that I bought for my own use was the Fight Light SCR. I bought an upper back when they were $400 or something crazy cheap. And at the time, for me, that was very expensive. But I bought an upper and slapped it onto no, I'm sorry. It's actually the lower. It's the other way around. I bought the Fight Light SCR lower, slapped it onto a Stag Arms upper, I think, a standard AR-15 upper. And that was my first, what we'll call ranch rifle. It was California legal because it has a no pistol grip. It has a fixed stock. And on that rifle, I put a muzzle brake on it instead of a flash hider. So it was California legal. And yet that rifle shot just as fast, just as deadly, just as far. I could switch magazines. It was essentially an AR-15 with a little bit of a bent wrist. And then I kind of got into a thing where, let me see if I can find other options for people who don't want to dick around with California's stupid AR-15 laws. So I went and bought a Mini 14 or 2, and I found those to be a viable option if you wanted to protect your home and your family and your neighborhood. I ended up with a Kel-Tec RDB-C, which is more of a boat oar than it is it's the RDB without the pistol grip. So it looks kind of ugly and it feels kind of weird when you shoot it, but it's a great option that takes AR-15 magazines. Later, one of the ones that I was lucky enough to get from Foxtrot Mike down the mountain in Boise, Idaho. I met them at my first SHOT Show, and they agreed to send me the Foxtrot Mike Ranch rifle. I think it's got some other name, but I can't remember. And that's the one you see there at the top.
Yep.
And I just got into finding options for Californians or actually anybody. Let's say you lived in Maryland, Connecticut, New York, those places where you really had to bastardize your rifle if you wanted to make an AR-15 work. But maybe a lot of people just didn't even want to dick around with that. They don't want to risk having an AR-15. They still wanted to defend their families and their homes. So I got into a thing where I had several chapters there of my YouTube show where I was featuring California legal rifles. So quite a few things up here are not California legal, even when they were in California with me. But yeah.
Yeah, you got some pretty cool historical pistols as well. You've got one you were telling me about that was your uncle's, your grandfather's.
Yeah, that's a Colt. What is this? A 1903?
1903.
1903.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's an old Colt 1903 in .380 caliber. And the story behind this, at least as passed to me from my uncle, which he probably lied his ass off. My grandfather, I do know, was a second lieutenant in the Army during World War II, and he was stationed in Oahu, Hawaii. So yeah, he saw the worst of the combat. No. All joking aside, being a second lieutenant, he was an aide-de-camp to a general. He just drove a general around to fancy dinners and speaking engagements and stuff. So he had a really cush gig. But one of the things he bought himself and carried as an officer gun back then, when you could do such things, he bought himself this little 1903 in Hawaii, an all-steel little Colt in .380, and he carried it on duty, active duty. Later, years after he retired, he passed it down to my uncle. And my uncle, who was a undercover cop in San Jose Police Department, San Jose, California, carried it as his boot gun on some deep undercover. Well, he had those hairy stories that you were talking about that
right.
I should have had. He had a lot of really, undercover with biker gangs and all this kind of stuff. So he carried this as a deep concealment hideout gun that didn't scream law enforcement if it was found. And then several years ago, my uncle had a health scare, and in the middle of that scare, he gave me a bunch of guns, told me the story of Grandpa's Colt 1903, and to this day I have it here in my collection. I have not fired it yet, but that is going to be remedied shortly. I'm not a guy who has collector guns that I don't believe in shooting. They're not made of glass. So one of these days I'm going to take this thing out here and shoot it and make a short little video about it.
It'd be a great video for just the story part of it,
If any of that shit's true, who even knows?
I mean, it's true to you.
My family's known for embellishment.
Well,
so.
I understand that. I completely understand that too. So, but pivoting just a little bit. I mean, we've been talking about your time in the military and law enforcement. We've talked about your firearms you've got displayed, which is just really cool. Your YouTube play button that you.
I made a video on my channel when I hit 100,000.
100,000. Yeah.
When I hit 100,000 subscribers, YouTube gave me that stupid play button, and I was proud to get it. I don't want to shit on that. I was proud of achieving the 100,000 mark, but at the same time, YouTube has done nothing but screwed over all gun tubers, and I thought I needed to display this thing, but I wanted to give it its own little special treatment. So I took it out to the range. I made sure I really dialed in a rifle because I wanted to put bullets in the exact right spot. And I made a video about this you can find on my channel, but I put 3 rounds through the center of my YouTube play button plaque, and it doesn't destroy anything. I think the damn thing's made out of plastic and aluminum or something. Brought it back and hung it up in my studio with 3 bullets in it. I just think it speaks well of my disdain for YouTube, and at the same time, they awarded me something that I'm proud of the achievement, but it needed to show some bullet holes.
Yeah, for sure.
Customized.
But you're also kind of I don't know if the best way to say it is, but
an exotic dancer, a great kisser,
a accomplished artist as well.
Oh, well, I went to school. I went to college. Was formally trained in graphic design and advertising, and illustration was my specialty. And I was in advertising for a lot of years, and then I became an art teacher for a grade school district, and worked that for a couple of years before the Highway Patrol called. I was applying for them at the time. I was in advertising, and it took a long time to get into the Highway Patrol back then. And one day they called my little art teacher office and said, "Hey, we'd like to offer you a position. You need to report to Sacramento on it was November 1st. Make sure you're there. Let us know if you're going to accept our invitation." And I was like, "Holy shit, I'm on my way. Bags are packed." I've been trying for years to get into the Highway Patrol. So, yeah, I was a graphic designer. I still do a lot of logo design, illustrations. The Highway Patrol, I still have a lot of contacts down there in California. They reach out anytime a guy is retiring, and I do these humorous illustrations, caricatures of a guy, usually highlighting something that he fucked up on at work. Everybody likes to make jokes. A guy's known for something he did wrong, driving away from a gas pump with the nozzle still in the tank or something like that. So yeah, I do illustrations for guys who are retiring as a farewell gift. And then
it's almost like the characters that you would get like at a fair or amusement park or something like that. Yeah, something to that effect.
Yeah, except instead of a guy and his girlfriend sitting there looking like goofballs, this is usually an officer in uniform doing something jacked up on the road. So yeah, that was my and then oddly enough, following kind of in my footsteps, my daughter went to college. Now it's called visual communication. She went to college for visual communication, which is graphic design. She went into advertising and marketing. She recently gave that career up and went over to teaching, and she begins her first year as a full-time 5th grade teacher here in August. So very similar path. I just hope she doesn't go into law enforcement anytime soon. I kind of doubt she will.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that she saw that life from the outside looking in, and probably saw a lot of the stress that you had to deal with. And
I don't think I was ever stressed.
Oh,
people say I'm not going to tell you that law enforcement wasn't stressful, but I will tell you that to a man, everybody I knew, the stress in law enforcement came from going back to the damn office and all of the horse shit you were going to put up with from the brass. What is today's new edict? What new goddamn thing are we chasing? What new stat are we trying to go out and do? Are you or are you not in trouble for some citizen complaint that came in while you were out on the road on shift? Those were the only times I ever stressed out, was coming back to the office. What kind of trouble was I going to be in, or what kind of horse shit do we have to deal with back at the office? I don't believe I ever can think of a time that I got stressed out. Let's say walking up on a car with tinted windows, or holding people at gunpoint, or searching a building, or searching a yard with my firearm drawn. I don't ever remember being stressed. I was very well trained. I was very well equipped. I had a lot of confidence, probably misplaced, especially when I was young. I had a lot of confidence. But yeah, my stress in law enforcement always came from administrative crap back at the office. So.
Well, and it says a lot about your personality as well, because I've known you for several years now. We've gone to SHOT Show and hung out, and I've been out here, and I've never seen you flustered. You're just
I usually get flustered, but it's usually wife related.
Yeah.
I got a pretty chill wife too. So no, I actually, throughout my entire career, I won't say get in trouble, but I was always looked at sideways by people that, why aren't you taking shit seriously? Why aren't you more flustered about things? I don't know, just an easygoing guy, and I don't let shit stress me out.
Yep.
I hate being stressed. I hate being mad. I don't know. Life's too short. We could all kick it tomorrow.
Yeah.
What have you accomplished by being mad?
And that was one of the biggest pieces that I took away from my time in the military. A couple of deployments, and I was pretty. I had a chip on my shoulder when I was younger. I was a hothead, and a lot of it came from promoting probably a little faster than I should have. And I just thought that I was the bee's knees. And then I had my daughter, and I'm sure that there's fathers out there that are listening to this that may be girl dads that will tell you that, having a boy is great, but being a girl dad will calm you down really, really quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And now that dating Nan, she has said multiple times that she has never seen me angry. She's seen me frustrated or irritated, but she like angry where I'm ready to flip a table or something like that. She's never seen me that. And dealing with my ex-wife, and she'll make comments that I got to be careful around Mark because I don't want to upset him, and if he gets upset, then he it's a whole thing, and
turns into the Hulk.
Yeah, and Nan's like, who is she talking about?
Old Mark.
Yeah. So, needless to say, and if you guys are young out there, you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna realize that unless someone's bleeding, about to lose an arm or eyesight, it's really not going to matter.
Well, like you, I was in a different career path, right? But like you, when you've seen people killed, I saw people killed almost every single month, probably almost every week. I saw people killed in car crashes. But when you've seen your own officers die, I saw quite a few of my own officers, a couple of them good friends of mine, die. A couple of them by suicide, a couple of them by just, shitbags on the road who ran them down. When you've seen people die in the course of your life that you were close to, shit just doesn't seem all that serious anymore.
Yeah.
Death seems serious. Shitbags seem serious. But man, getting mad at somebody at a red light because they're looking at their phone and not driving, when the light turns green, or somebody flipping you off on the road, those things just they don't get me all fired up. I don't like the feeling of being mad. Again, I think life's too short to get fired up about those things. And I don't know. My wife doesn't like it because I never show emotion, but I'm not a guy who likes to get mad about things. There's things there's a lot of people I've known that are no longer here. And I look at that and think, man, that could have been me years ago. And life's too short to be mad about stuff all the time and be frustrated or be concerned about things. Take things too seriously. That's kind of why I'm a jokester, always was in my career, and made light of things that sometimes needed to be taken seriously, but I refuse to take things seriously.
Yeah, same here. And one of the things that it's translated to is like with Nan, she says that sometimes it's extremely difficult to read me, and understand what is Mark feeling right now, what is he thinking and stuff like that. And I can understand from her perspective it might be a little I don't know, frustrating a little bit, but
Mark,
at the same time,
we all know women are crazy.
Yeah, well,
women want us to have emotions that we are just not equipped with.
Right. But at the same time, I actually kind of like it. I kind of like it like that. I kind of like the idea that people just don't know what I'm thinking at the moment.
Exactly. Leave them guessing.
Leave them guessing.
Leave them guessing. Yeah. If they don't know, it's all the better for you.
Yeah.
They can't underestimate you or overestimate you if they don't know what's going on in your brain.
Right.
And it's usually nothing. I'm usually zoned out thinking about something completely pointless.
Yeah.
My wife's like, why aren't you happy or sad? And I'm like, I am. I'm happy all the time. This is happy.
Yeah. So what's next for OG? What's on the horizon?
Shit, I don't know. I'm going to make videos. Probably going to film one tomorrow. No, I just plan on cranking out videos until I'm dead or until I get tired of it and give up, like some of those old-timey video creators that I used to watch. I like making videos. I like doing gun reviews, whether people watch them or not. I enjoy talking about guns. I could sit here and chat about things forever. You turn a camera on and I'm a bumbling idiot, but yeah, I like making videos about stuff. I really enjoy, I think one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life is the feedback I get from viewers, people who really appreciate stuff. It is so rewarding. It's a dopamine hit. People tell you, hey, this was a really good video, or I stumbled across a comment today that said, this is the best video I've ever seen on YouTube about this gun. And I thought, holy dog shit, there's a lot of videos about this gun. And this guy thinks that mine is the best, most descriptive video on YouTube. And that's one guy, but to me, that's a big blue ribbon. And I don't know. I love interacting with my audience. I write them stuff. Just yesterday, I sent a bunch of stickers and patches out to a guy in Canada. So I don't know. I love the audience feedback. There are a lot of YouTube guys out there who make a video and never once look at their comment section.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they never, ever write back.
Yep.
Shit, I read every single comment and I write back, 90% of them if they're positive.
Yeah.
So I like that. I get a kick out of it. I spent a lot of years pissing everybody off. And so now I think I really get a kick out of, making people some enjoyable content where they can get a chuckle while learning something about guns or shooting. So I think that's the rewarding part for me. It gives me something to do. There's nothing worse than retiring and going and just sitting down and feeding the chickens and watching TV. Those guys die in about 5 years.
Yeah.
And so having something to do every day, some reason to get up and come out to my office and, film a video. And God, sometimes it's tedious. It's aggravating.
Yes. Yeah.
It takes a shit ton of time. Sometimes it takes a lot of money. And then you put in all this time and you make this video that you think is just beautiful piece of art. And like friggin' 10 people watch it.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be this dog on YouTube. And you feel dejected about it. You're bummed out, but you just get right back on the horse and you go film something else. And I say that having had 3 really, really, really popular videos recently that made me feel like, king of the world. So they do come and go,
And that was one of the most important things. And I think subconsciously, one of the reasons why I wanted to start a YouTube channel is because, and even do this podcast is, I love my dad, and he's going through some health concerns and stuff like that right now, and all of that type of stuff. But one thing that I noticed at a very young age was my dad's identity was his job.
Oh yeah.
And I refused to do that.
Yeah.
I got into the military and started doing the military thing, and that was great. And I was very proud about wearing the uniform. And, obviously you get some accolades from that and everything, but then I hung the uniform up.
Right. And who are you the next day?
Exactly.
You're a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness for that. Thank you for your service. And then what are you? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, I think it's probably more pronounced even in law enforcement. And they told us this going in, when you're a cop, every time you go to a birthday party, a family gathering, whatever, you are the cop in the room.
Yeah.
Greg, who used to be an art teacher, is now the policeman in the room, and everybody kind of, talks quietly, and who did you arrest, and who did you chase, and what badass stories did you have this week? And then there's one day where you quit, and the very next day, you're just a clown with a retired ID card.
Yeah.
And you no longer have the power to arrest anybody, to stop anybody. Nobody gives a shit what car you're driving. You used to sit in an intersection in a black and white patrol car, and everybody was like smiling and waving and putting their cell phones down and using their blinkers. And then one day, nobody gives a shit who you are. And it really hits a lot of guys. I tried not to make it my identity anyway.
Right.
And I think that I was fortunate because I really got into the YouTube thing, 4 or 5 years before I retired. So to me, I had something to focus on that was more interesting to me than law enforcement. So the day I quit, I was focused on, now I'm going to build my channel up. Of course, like a dumbass, I thought, I'm going to build my channel up so big that it'll become my new income. Well, on YouTube, that's nearly impossible. You got to be a big giant guy like Grand Thumb. You got to lift a lot more weights and get a lot more tattoos than I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to have something else other than your career. You can't just be a retired cop guy because there's nothing to that. You can't go from being uber respected one day to being a common old schlub the very next day.
Yep.
And not have some self-worth. It has hit no one worse than my wife. She was a judge, and in her career, that is the pinnacle of being a lawyer.
Yeah.
When you're a judge, everybody bows and scrapes and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, your honor. And then the very next day she was retired and now she's a lawyer. She works for a firm and makes more money than a judge, but she's kind of a nobody again. Mm-hmm. And she's working late nights. In fact, she's working right now as we're recording this. She works weekends. She's aggravated all the time. It's right back to the beginning. It's a circle of life. But yeah, you've got to have something because all of us have been at a point in our careers, or it doesn't matter what your career is. You have a pinnacle where you were the best that you'll ever be. You were badass. People looked up to you. and there's a day when you're not that person anymore.
Right.
You're just an old guy wearing fucking flip-flops to the post office, and nobody gives a shit who you are anymore. And it hits me every once in a while. I see cops on the road that are in the middle of a traffic stop, and I think, sort of missed that a little bit. Then I'll watch a YouTube or an Instagram reel where people are cussing out the cops and demanding a supervisor. And I had some of those, and I'm like, oh God, I don't miss that shit anymore. I would dread every single traffic stop if I thought, and things changed a lot, from when I first came on. I worked in a very conservative area where people really respected cops, and yet after COVID, I don't think it was because of COVID, but after COVID, things started changing a lot. Attitudes toward cops, a lot of body cam footage, and cops aren't infallible. They caused a lot of this by being brutal, pompous assholes too, and punching people when they didn't need to be, or arresting people who didn't need to be. Some of it was brought on ourselves, but the overall attitude towards law enforcement really took a dive.
Yeah.
And it was time for me to get out because I came from a different era, and I wouldn't have functioned well with every single person I stopped telling me, F you, go get your supervisor. So, we didn't beat people or anything silly, but, people just treated police officers a little different back then. It's changed a lot, and I don't envy the new guys going into it or the guys that I worked with that are still in there. So, I don't know. Not for me anymore.
Yep.
I had a chance when I came up to this little dinky town here in Idaho. The local police department was trying to get me to throw on a uniform and go work for them. Like, never again. I won't wear a uniform. I'm not going to wear a baseball uniform, let alone a law enforcement uniform again. So, no real desire to do that. I do miss parts of it. I miss the guys, the camaraderie. It's a lot like the military.
Oh yeah.
I miss sitting down and having breakfast with the coolest people on earth, talking about how badass we were and how we were all going to save the world. But yeah, I don't miss the job much anymore. So,
and it's awesome that you were able to position yourself in such a manner that you were able to retire. Dare I say, young?
Well, I am extremely lucky. My agency not only paid very, very well. We're in California, so a lot of guys lived in the Bay Area or Los Angeles and had to survive on our paycheck. I lived out in the middle of California in a dry, dusty country area where your paycheck went really far. But we have a retirement formula we call 3 at 50. You get 3% for every year you're working up until the age of, you're able to retire at 50 years old, let's say. So it's similar to military age where you can go out kind of young, but we came away with a lot more percentage. And we retired with better retirements than any other agency around us. We were well taken care of. We always negotiated a great contract. So I was able to leave. I bought some time back. I won't go into all the details, but I bought a little service time back during a period where they were not offering raises. So they offered us a way to buy some time back as a benefit later in life. So I was able to leave with 23 years of actual road service, but I had 28 years worth of service credit on the books. So I was leaving the highway patrol like a very senior old crusty road dog. And I was able to leave with, California right now is paying me almost the exact same amount to sit here and make YouTube videos and pet dogs as the day I left the road and I was dealing with assholes and dodging traffic and had to worry about getting shot. So they mail me a check here in Idaho, and I get to spend it, on everything but Gavin Newsom's crap. So
yeah, that's good.
I'm very lucky. I was able to leave at 50. I think I left at 52 years old, and I was done. It's just time for me to go. They always say when you buy a retirement home that it's over. That's where your brain is from then on out. It was almost exactly. I bought a home in Idaho, and we came up here and visited every once in a while and brought some shit and moved it in. But all I could think about was getting retired and getting up here. And it was all downhill from there. I just coasted towards retirement and pulled the plug one day. My partner, a female officer that I worked with for most of my career, one day when I was not on duty, she was actually shot on duty, survived, everything's fine now, but she was shot through the shoulder by a shitbag who got his comeuppance too, but for her, it was time to hang it up. For me, it almost coincided perfectly, time to hang it up. She obviously went out for different reasons, but yeah, for me and her both. My wife looked at me the day I was standing in the hospital with my partner. My wife called me and said, "That's it. If you're ready to retire, you need to get out of there. I don't want you shot through the shoulder
Yeah.
like your partner." So,
Yep. Well, thank you for your service.
thank you for your service.
Well,
Wonder Twin Powers activated. This is the Joe Rogan podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I was
actually,
on the right show.
it's Sean Ryan. I'm going to give you here's your SIG.
Oh, thank
here's
you for
your
that
SIG.
SIG. Let's go out. Let's go out and shoot. And
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what a shitty shot I am. I can't hit steel at 15 yards.
So, thank you so much for joining us. We'll start wrapping things up here because I want to. It's starting to get late for us here, and want to be respectful for your time. And
I'm retired, Mark. I don't got anything going.
well, yeah.
Your listeners don't want to hear me drone on until 3 a.m, but
But at the very least, we always like to give the quote unquote last 30 seconds to the guests. So,
sweet. I'm going to sing a song.
Any folksy wisdom or dad jokes or anything.
My kids would kill me if I dropped a dad joke. I'm the king of dad jokes, and by king of, I mean I got some of the worst ones ever. They make me roll my eyes when I drop them. My kids hate it. I've got 2 adult female daughters, and they spent their lives with dad jokes, and they absolutely hate it. No, I don't have any folksy words of wisdom. Treat everybody cool, and they will usually treat you cool pretty evenly.
Yeah.
Stay armed and with your head up out there. I know everybody listening to this podcast is already of that mindset. I'm a big believer, whether it was on duty or off duty, especially off duty, that you got to keep your head up, stay armed, and if you are so trained, this is kind of the premise of my show. I close out every one of my videos with this. If you are trained, I want you to stay armed whenever and wherever you are out there, because you guys carrying a firearm who have probably a little training under your belt and are vigilant about your surroundings, you might be the difference in some innocent person going home that day. You might be at Walmart at exactly the right time. God put you in there at exactly the right time to deliver justice to some shitbag. And you were properly equipped and trained. Don't leave your fucking gun in the glove compartment because you're just going into Walmart in your flip-flops. I did that the other day running to the post office. I told myself I don't need to take a gun with me. I live in the most peaceful town on earth. And I got into a very minor altercation with another driver. I didn't get mad, but fingers were exchanged. And there was a half a second there where I thought, why the hell don't I have a gun with me? You know, this guy was going to pull off the road and come after me. And I thought, okay, I am the dumbass who always preaches staying armed and staying vigilant. And here I was, unarmed, yet vigilant.
Yep.
So, yeah, absolutely. You guys keep your heads up out there. Take care of your families. And have I used up my 30 seconds and yours?
Oh, no. The 30 seconds is just a
suggestion.
A suggestion, yeah.
Well, I don't want to drone on. You guys be safe out there and stay armed and protect your families first and foremost. But after that, take care of your community. It doesn't matter if you're a police officer, on duty or off, retired or not. You guys, again, are properly trained and equipped, and you have to look out for the sheep out there. I hate that sheepdog sheep thing, but
yeah,
you are the people who God put on this earth to take care of people and protect them. And because you're the one carrying a gun, you know, it's going to be your responsibility. I absolutely hate the people that always said, it's not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm not getting involved in shit, protecting somebody else unless I'm related to them. I was wired a different way. I believe that I'm put in a certain position and I'm given a firearm and the ability to carry it and the training and skills to shoot it well. And if I'm put in a scenario one day where innocent people are being attacked or threatened, that I'll be in that right place to do the right thing.
There you go.
All of us are hoping that we're never there, but be equipped and trained in case you are.
Yep. So I do have a dad joke for our
great.
listening, and it's I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but if you think about it, ice is just water having a hard time.
Oh my God! I just threw up a little bit in my mouth, Mark. What's I'm gonna screw up the easiest joke on earth. What's red and smells like blue paint?
I don't know.
Red paint. There you go. You've had 2 horrible dad jokes. We're going to leave you guys not laughing. We're going to leave you cringing and wishing you had listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. Well, thanks for having me on the show. First of all, you've had Live, Laugh, Larp for how long now?
Almost. Oh man, how long? That's a great question.
I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah, I know. October, I think, is our 2-year anniversary.
And
Yeah,
I've never once been invited on this show, folks. So
that's not true. That's not true.
What?
No, it's not true. We were going to do a podcast at SHOT Show.
Yeah, but I think you guys were drunk, or I had call girls or something. I can't remember the situation.
There was a midget involved there somewhere.
There was a greased up midget and a mariachi band and a jar of grape jelly. I do remember that being involved, but you guys had something. You guys were way cool. You roll in a cool group of YouTube guys, I've noticed. I don't have a cohort, a bunch of guys that I hang out with.
You are always allowed to hang out with us.
Well, I don't want to crash the party.
Nope.
That's like old Uncle Charlie coming to the cool guys' party and saying, "Hey, I want to get down with some disco." You don't want old guys hanging out with your party, but no, I do appreciate when you guys shout out the show. I try to do the same thing for other channels. People helped me along. A much bigger channel helped me get have a very successful YouTube career, so I absolutely like to do what I can. And I'm still a small channel, but there's nothing more annoying than those big channels who got really too cool for themselves and they can't even talk to their viewers anymore at SHOT Show because they're just too cool.
Yeah.
Where in the hell did you think that? Where does your coolness come from? Your viewers. So we appreciate you guys, whether it's a podcast or whether it's YouTube.
Yep, for sure. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Once again, thank you so much to XS Sites for sponsoring this podcast, and we will catch you guys next time with Jefe. I know that he's been out. You guys have been calling for him, but we will have him back on more than likely in the next one. So thanks again so much, and we will catch you guys next time. Don't forget to live, laugh, and LARP. Bye, y'all.